Alright guys, so as you know, metas come and go and seasons do change things up from time to time. And outside of that, we have had a couple balance patches that have really shifted things around. So the Descendants that used to be the best might not be as good as they once were. And I wanted to take the time to help explain to you guys who I think are the top 5 mobbing Descendants in this sandbox. Having said all that, let's hop into the guide. For number 5 on the list, I actually like Sharon. Sharon has a really solid mobbing build, and she can move through the map very quickly. So with her ability to move through the map quickly, she can use other parts of her kit to still do good damage to a lot of different enemies. So she's not only hitting big criticals on low health or no-name enemies, she still can put out some serious damage when it comes to those yellow bars and when it comes to the end of the match. She is by far somebody that surprised me after I built her. I did not think that she was going to be as good as she was. But lo and behold, with the build that we have here, she is a lot better than I thought she was. Now that's not to say that she's entirely perfect. If she was, she would be higher up on the list. With the build that we use, you can start to run into issues if you're not leading the pack. If you're running with a bunch of different mobbers, you can find that your skills will be on cooldown just a little bit because her skills feed into themselves. And if you are not getting hits and you are not getting kills, then you're not going to get the cooldown reduction that you need, and you're not going to be able to spam her skills as much as you would like. But other than that, honestly, I do think she is a great Descendant and somebody that I have a lot of fun playing. And if you're looking for a different mobber or a good mobber, I would definitely suggest you go ahead and pick her up. Alright, so 4th on the list, I do want to talk about Freyna. Her ability to cover the entire room with 2 different versions of poison and spawn kill almost everything that shows up is one of the main reasons she's on this list. She is super easy to use, and you can use her across a lot of different content to help trivialize it and speed up your farming. Fraina has for a long time been part of the sandbox and part of the meta, and I would still really classify her as an S-class Descendant. While she's not as strong as she used to be, I do think she still has staying power in this meta, and I do think she is somebody you should use in the current sandbox. Having said that, there are some negatives to Fraina. Her biggest holdups are twofold. One, while the arcade tuning and the new components do help increase her damage, she still does not take out yellow bars as easy as some of the people a little bit higher up on this list. Now, she does have her own ultimate weapon, and this thing does do an insane amount of damage. However, she is one of the Descendants that you have to make a decision where you're going to build. Are you going to build into her mobbing, or are you going to build into her single target damage? You can come up with some hybrid builds that will kind of marry the best of both of these situations. But at the end of the day, I do think she really excels more at mobbing than she does at bossing at this time. So we did go back and forth with the top 3 spots, and it was kind of a hard choice, but for number 3, we are going to put my boy Keelan. Keelan is in a great spot since his balance adjustments and with the new component sets. This guy does just an insane amount of damage. And if you build him properly, he moves through basically any content at a breakneck speed that almost no one can keep up with. If you're trying to mob against Keelan, you're gonna have a hard time just because Keelan will get into the room and clear it before you ever even get in there. I really like Keelan, and I really like this style of gameplay. It does feel really good on keyboard and mouse, and I've never really tried it on controller, so I can't say how good it feels there, but I do know they did change some remapping to where you could do instant 180s, and I think that's going to help our friends out over on keyboard and mouse. Over on controller. Now, I'm not going to say that everything is good with Keelan. Keelan and the way he's set up, he does kind of struggle with big bosses, and the main reason for that is because he shares his 4 with keeping his dashes up and doing big spike damage. The way we have him built really lets him do the best of both without really sacrificing anything. But if you do not pay attention, you can find yourself without dashes. And if you cannot dash with Keelan, you cannot play him. And if there was a great way to maintain 100% uptime on his dashes, while still being able to dish out very large damage with his 4, he would by far be probably the #1 Descendant in the game. Doesn't matter if it's dashing or mobbing, but unfortunately that's not the way it works, and you have to really understand how to play this Descendant. I think he's a Descendant with a really high skill ceiling, and if you get good with him, you're gonna have a lot of fun with him if you enjoy a fast-paced, breakneck sort of gameplay style. So for the #2 spot, it is gonna be Glay, but not the way you imagine her. Now some of you guys might be surprised, but this isn't actually a Glay Restored Relic build. We're using her mobbing skill to mob with. I know, surprise, right? But recently they balanced her character and balanced this mod in a way that actually makes it very viable and super fun to play with. Now, if you watch some of the gameplay in the background, you'll see that this hits everywhere. You don't have to be close, you don't have to get the kills, and as you're using it, it feeds you skill resource so you can continue to do it. Once you get the first one of these balls popped and you have a little bit of resource, you're basically good for the entire match. Now, where things get a little bit interesting with her is when it comes to her bossing. With this build, you don't have 100% uptime on your unlimited ammo, but it's pretty close. And one of the big things that makes this build better than Keelin is the fact that you still get most of the utility out of Glay with her unlimited ammo, which allows you to burn bosses out instantly. So not only can you mob with the best of them, if not be the best mobber in the game, you can still be one of the best single target DPSs in the game. And I think that's really what pushes this build and pushes Glay into the top tier. So for #1 on our list, it's actually going to be Ines. Now I do know that Ines did receive a little bit of a balancing patch here recently, and that balancing patch has sort of decreased a little bit of her usability. But at the end of the day, she is still an S+ Descendant, and she is somebody that can clear rooms with little to no effort, and the way her skills feed into themselves really just lets her continue to damage and decimate everything in the room. Most people got used to using her as a 1-skill Descendant, but if you really utilize her entire kit, she is very oppressive and somebody that I still think you should use, and she is a lot of people's go-to mobber even now, especially in areas that are very open like Sigma Sector and other maps where you have really good open visibility and not a lot of line of sight obstructions. Now that's not to say that she's perfect. With her most recent balance patch, she does need line of sight in order to use her 1, and this can at times make her feel very clunky. The line of sight, even though it's been kind of fixed, is still not as good as it used to be, and you will not just be able to no brain hit her #1 while running around. But at the end of the day, I do think she is still an S+ or S tier Descendant, and somebody that you should go ahead and build if you don't have her built already. Now before we end the video, I do want to address a couple things. I did leave Serena off of this, and I did leave Bunny off of this. Now, when it comes to Serena's 4 and her ability to do bulk damage with her 4 and mob with her 4 is something that is very, very impressive. And while I think Serena is a Descendant that everyone should build, especially now that we know she's not going to be balanced down, I do not necessarily put her at the top tier of the mobbing. And the main reason for that is I think she excels in harder content. I'm not saying that she's bad. I'm actually saying the opposite. She is really good, but I think where you find more value with Serena is in that top end content. And that's why she didn't grab a spot on this list. I also want to address Bunny. Bunny is the poster child of this game, and I know a lot of people might be looking at this list and go, why did you make a mobbing list and not include Bunny? Well, I do think Bunny is fun, and I think that Bunny can run into the room and clear ads super fast, and she has a lot of utility. And with her energy condenser being reworked, she can do spike damage in a way that she couldn't before. But I think Keelan sort of replaces her when it comes to that speed mobbing. I think that what Keelan does is allows him to mob even faster than Bunny. So if you're trying to be a speed mobber, you can go ahead and play Keelin, and then for spike damage, you can go ahead and just put on the last dagger. So while Bunny is very fun, and I think that the utility of Alt Bunny is something that can't be overstated, I do think she has sort of fallen out of the meta a little bit. But let's be honest, if Bunny's competing with Valby and a few other Descendants that didn't make this list, it could be really hard to justify Bunny's spot. I do think Alt Bunny is a great starter Descendant, and she's somebody that you should go ahead and build, but she does not make the top list. Alright guys, and that's it. That is my top 5 mobbers in First Descendant. I know some of these picks might be a little bit controversial, but I do stand behind where they are. With the current sandbox, this was kind of a challenging list because so many Descendants have really risen up to be viable mobbers. You can build a proliferating allergen Eugen, or you can build a speedrunning SMO, or you can build a Jax build. There are tons of other Descendants that can clear ads so fast, and it's a good time to be playing the game. But having said that, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm sure I'm going to get filleted with my choices, but hopefully you understand the thought process behind why I picked them. We did want to go ahead and try to put links to some builds for all the different Descendants we talked about, so definitely check the description below, and I'll try to go ahead and add tags to the video if I get time, but if not, definitely drop down and check the descriptions. And if you guys enjoyed this content, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to see more of our content, consider coming over and watching us live on Twitch. We do stream 5 days a week, and I would love to have you over there. We have a great community and we welcome new members every day, and we would love to bring you on board. But having said all that, thanks for watching guys, and have a great day.